Hello, good afternoon. I'm going to wait just a few seconds to let everybody kind of trickle into the panel today before we jump in. As everybody is clicking in and kind of dropping into the digital panel, my name is Dave Downs. I'm with RSI in Business Strategy and Development. Joining us today also from RSI, we have Michele O'Neill, who is our New Business Development Director. Michele, you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. It's going to be a good one today.
I feel like it's been a little bit of a hiatus since we've done one of these. It's been a few months since we've gotten the band back together, Michele, so it feels good. I still just know those same 3 chords. Joining us also on the digital panel today, we are honored to have a couple of our strategic business partners joining us today. First, we have Eddie Velasquez, who is joining us from BentoBox. Eddie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
The non-Colorado resident joining us from New York City. So welcome. Thanks, Eddie. And then from Efficient Hire, we have Michele Heller. She's going to be talking about the Efficient Hire program. As we marketed this campaign, or the campaign around this panel, this is focusing on what potentially was left on the table in 2019. Michele, I know you've got some ideas on what restaurant operators may have left on the table. Take it away. What you got?
Oh, for sure, and super excited about these panelists, especially as they're 2 of our favorite partners and good friends. Thanks again for joining, you guys. I want to start off with you, Eddie, because part of my excitement about this panel and talking about things that were left on the table, missed opportunities for restaurants, we actually have the opportunity to talk to you about marketing strategy and building top-line sales. So as we've done panels before, we've kind of focused on what you can do to be more profitable by focusing on lowering expenses. But Eddie, talk to us about how BentoBox, what they can do to improve top-line performance.
Absolutely, and thank you again for having me. Here on the BentoBox team, I'm on the customer success team as an account manager, and I work with our customers day in and day out. And in terms of what we do, BentoBox empowers restaurants to own their presence, profits, and relationships directly through their website. In other words, BentoBox is a revenue generator, and we put the restaurant first by offering tools that drive high margin revenue directly through the restaurant's website. So in that regard, we help restaurants because we are 100% hospitality focused, and we work only with restaurants. And when it comes to building your site and managing your online presence, there's really 3 areas that we like to focus on with our customers to get them to start building that revenue, to pick up more of what was left on the table. The first area that we work on is website design. It's very important for us that the potential guests for a restaurant on the front end, public-facing side of the site have a really clear picture of the design, that there's branding that's consistent throughout the website, and that the menus are accessible as well by being text-based. It's important for customers to be able to come to your site, find the menu, and read it. And whether they are doing so on their own or they're using a screen reader for ADA purposes, that text-based menu design is really important for getting them the information that they need. And on the back side, the back end, the part that the restaurant sees, we take design into consideration there too. We make a dashboard that has all the information about the site at a glance, talking about what the latest stats are, which websites are referring to your website, what people are searching when they're trying to find you. So that design is really important for us to be able to get the restaurants in line with understanding how they live on the internet and also getting the information to their guests. And the second way that we like to talk to our customers about driving revenue is e-commerce. E-commerce is a really quick way to grow your profits and your margins. And here at BentoBox, we have a variety of e-commerce features that are available to all of our customers. You can sell gift cards through your website. You can sell merchandise, tickets. You can even sell catering and have your customers order directly and pay on your website as well. If you do a lot of events, we have events management tools available. And we also even have online ordering, which just launched recently. So e-commerce is that second area that we focus on pretty greatly. And then finally, the third area that we focus on our tools and analytics. So on the back end that we talked about a little bit, what we like to do is make sure that the customers are empowered with all of the information that they'll need for maintaining that ongoing presence of their website. We have a support team that is available 7 days a week for customers who have questions for updating their website. We offer integrations with social media, integrations with your payment processors so that you can get from one streamlined place, your back end, to the other areas that you have presence online. And finally, analytics. We offer a connection with Google Analytics so you can really start to analyze the data that's flowing through your website. Data is a great way for you to put together marketing campaigns, for you to see who is visiting your site and from where. So those three areas, design, e-commerce, and tools, are the way that we identify that it's the easiest and quickest way for you to start growing your margins.
Cool. Eddie, I've got a quick follow-up question in something that really correlates in with kind of RSI's philosophy of being able to take ownership and accountability. How does that look in terms of a time spent for maybe a business owner or somebody in the management ranks to take an online ownership of their digital presence, and what kinds of things do you do to help expedite that?
You know, it's very interesting that you mentioned that. In this day and age, I feel like none of us go to restaurants without hopping on our phone first and looking at what's in the area, what has the best reviews, who has the most stars, what their website looks like. For us, what's important is to understand that your website is the way for you to make a first impression with your customer. The experience for a customer in 2020 starts way before they ever show up to the restaurant itself. So what we like to really focus on is that it is possible for you to begin the guest experience while they're on their phones, and for you to be able to connect with them personally when they're looking up area restaurants is a great way for you to then convert them, drive those reservations by showing them that you have great offerings. The design element, for example, that I spoke of, having image forward content on your website is a great driver of revenue. It's almost like window shopping. If you walk by the window and you see something you like, the likelihood that you're going to go in and at the very least buy one or two things and shop around increases. So really owning your presence starts with the information that you put in front of guests and what you make available, and bringing them all the way through into the restaurant until you're saying bye and welcoming them again.
Yeah.
That's very well said. And, you know, in other ways as well, Eddie, you definitely mirror our philosophy at RSI, which is the service basis. And we're very grateful for your partnership and the fact that we have so many clients who've been able to utilize your services for their own marketing presence. Kind of a first for us on the panel, we actually have an example we would like to show. This comes special thanks to Via Tribunale and David for giving us consent to show a before and after of what BentoBox was able to do for their marketing. Eddie, would you like to talk us through this?
Yes, absolutely. So Via Tribunale is one of our customers that we have through our partnership. And what we're seeing first is the before part of their website. We see some menus that are image-based, very small design, not much of a focus on images as well. So we're looking at some images that are blurry, information is difficult to read on the website itself. And so the problems that they have were solved with this after, what we built for them. And if we can go to the second tab, as you can see here, the menu is much more prominent. It has images, a video of a rotation of the offerings of the restaurant. It has very clear listings of how to find them, where they're located, other services that they offer, their hours and location. This is all information that the guest needs in order for them to say, yes, I am going to come to your restaurant. And for us, the more prominent we can make that and the more appealing we can make that through the design, the higher the likelihood that they'll convert and book a reservation.
It's so interesting, and I played both of these twice just to make sure that everybody could kind of get a way to catch up. I don't know that I would know a good website versus a bad website when I would just log in to look at them. But when you look at them side by side, you can definitely tell the differences and being able to see how well they're laid out. So really cool stuff. Thanks for sharing, and thanks David via Trib for allowing us to show your site as well.
Yes, it's very interesting to see how quickly customers respond when we launch our sites, and how quickly the guests notice the difference and how fast they can access the information. And these websites are all completely flexible. Via Tribunali is following some of our best practices, and we have other customers who follow best practices even for growing their team. One of the great features of BentoBox websites is that you are able to post job openings. You're able to post career opportunities on your site and have people submit their resume and their information directly. So there's more than just the relationship with the guest. There's the relationship with your potential team as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and on that note, I think it's fair that we introduce Michele Heller from Efficient Hire. Michele, our experience, and we have had such an overwhelming response to what Efficient Hire can bring in terms of applicant tracking and onboarding and digital storage of HR documents. But where I kind of want to focus with you off the bat as it relates to what might have been left on the table is WOTC. And that's a new acronym. You know, I definitely want to talk about the career sites because just for everybody listening at home, we found that BentoBox and Efficient Hire actually integrate very well. The career and job postings that Efficient Hire can provide can be marketed through the services that BentoBox offer. But in terms of WOTC, Michele, can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how people leave it on the table?
Absolutely. So WOTC is an acronym for the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, and we find that so many people have no idea what this program even is and what they are leaving on the table, and that is tax credit just for hiring. I mean, it's as simple as that. The program is a federally funded program, so it is tax credits for folks like hiring veterans, hiring long-term unemployed, folks on assistance programs like SNAP, food stamps, and SSI, the disabled. And it's amazing what this program can do, not only for the employer getting tax credits, like that's a good thing, you don't have to pay the government, and also for the community. I mean, it's a huge opportunity to give people that really need a good job and want to get off these assistance programs. So you as an employer hire them, and they have an opportunity to get off of the assistance programs and have a good job. And they want to stay with you longer because they want to become a loyal employee because you hired them and helps them out.
Follow up on that, just more definition. So work opportunity tax credit. When I was working in the restaurant, I had a belief that this was strictly for those who were unemployed, and you could get some long-term benefit that would require too much administrative work to really follow up on, so it was largely ignored. That's my experience with it. Is that typically what you see when you're talking to new clients?
Yeah, we see that, if they do know about it, it's very, very tedious. The paperwork is ridiculously complicated, and then there's the part where the employer actually has to track and keep track of the earnout, which is the wages that this employee is earning and the hours that they're working in order to calculate the amount of credit. So the credit itself, you can earn anywhere from $2,400 to $9,600 per eligible employee. Now, that is a lot. And I mean, this is definitely a program that every employer that has any kind of tax liability should take advantage of, for sure.
Couple follow-up questions on that, Michele. First, how do the tax credits get applied? Do they see that in their regular tax filings that they make to the federal government or to the state municipalities, however that shakes down?
So the tax credit, we don't do the filing for you, but we make everything available. So in the solution, the employees are screened for the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. All simple Q&A, English or Spanish. Once they screen, we take it from there, and we do all of the processing. We are the processor at Efficient Hire. We don't outsource that. And we submit all of the certifications to each state workforce agency that they belong to. We track all of the hours and wages. We do all the calculations for you so that, let's say it comes like this time of year, we have a lot of people wanting to claim their credits. So you simply tell us what you want to claim. You don't have to claim all of it. So if you have, you know, a couple $100,000 in credit sitting there, you choose what you want to claim, and we provide all of those certifications along with the actual line items that your tax accountant would file for you. So we make it super easy. We give like a packet to the customer, and they give that information to their CPA or, you know, whomever is filing their taxes, and it's just a line item. And
to boil
the
that
other
down,
great,
it's a year-end tax credit on their corporate filings. Got it. Okay.
yes. And also, it's good to note that, you know, even if you don't have a liability right now, you can start screening. That way you don't leave it on the table for this year, because these tax credits can be carried for 20 years. So it's kind of like a good savings account to save these tax credits.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be a good one to budget for. We could definitely help with that over here. Appreciate the answer. We have a follow-up question from the audience on that real quick as well. Can you give us a couple examples of what type of candidate or employee might qualify for this type of tax credit?
So it's going to be those folks that are on assistance programs like SNAP, or if they live in a household where somebody is on that assistance, they would qualify. A veteran would qualify. And there are some time frames in there, but there are some certain time frames from when they were completed their service. But veterans, folks on TANF, which is temporary assistance for needy families, and then those folks that are on SSI, and short-term and long-term.
SSI is, what is that acronym? Sorry, I'm blanking. I should know.
That's okay. It's like the disability payments.
Oh, got it.
Got it.
Supplemental security income. Wow, thank
Yes.
goodness for Google. All right. I want to check back in with Eddie. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michele.
I was just going to say the easiest way to say it is those on disability. It's supplemental Social Security income, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm going to take a look at the audience questions, and we'll come back to Eddie for just a second. I think one of the biggest questions that comes out are, what are some common mistakes that you see? Not that there's anything wrong with trying different things with marketing, but some things that you see that maybe website and marketing, especially as it relates to restaurateurs, got left on the table and you see an immediate opportunity to improve upon.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's some of the most common mistakes that we see when it comes to maintaining your website is the belief that your site is a one-time task. Websites are a living, evolving entity, just like the four walls of the restaurant itself. There are different elements that you have to keep updated and you have to keep fresh in order to stay relevant online. There are thousands and thousands of restaurants competing in the same space. And some of the mistakes that you can fix right away on your website are making sure that your menus are actually up to date. If you had, for example, a Valentine's Day dinner and we're now about to get to St. Patty's Day and you still have that up, it might be a good idea to update to your spring menu. Another thing that you can do right away as well is include what we call calls to action on your website. If you offer reservations, make sure that you have the link to those reservations on your site as well. if you have a newsletter and you get information out to your customers about how you are going to kick off the summer with a party, or over the summer you're going to have happy hour. That's another very quick way for you to get that information out and to really start focusing on what you offer for your guests on a rolling basis. That's really the biggest takeaway here, that it's not just building the site, turning it on and saying, okay, here it goes, that you really need to work at it.
Perfect. I have a couple questions, one for the same question for each of our panelists. Then we have another question from the audience, Michele, that's going to come to you in just a moment. First, Eddie, I'm going to ask you, I always like at least one real actual story of driving revenue, of cutting some sort of cost. Well, give me a good example of what a great website can do, and maybe it is just an anecdote, but I like that story to be told so I can understand and wrap my head around it. And then Michele, I'll come to you for the same kind of question.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the good things that we like to tell our customers is that it is a wonderful problem to have, to be very, very busy. And we have a customer here in New Jersey, not too far from New York, who runs a bakery. And they had a really significant uptick in the orders that they were getting for their holidays. People like to buy special treats for the holidays to take over to potlucks, holiday parties. And they were starting to run into an issue where they had so many orders and there were so many people coming in that they couldn't keep up with the paperwork, and they had to start paying an employee double overtime to keep up with all of the order processing and making sure that all the payments were coming through. They then ended up signing up for BentoBox Catering Store, and that immediately and instantly consolidated all of that paperwork, all of that admin, and collecting payments into just one area of the site. And now they have the capability for customers to select anytime that they want. The store's open 24/7. If you're online, your store's open. The customer can make their selection, they can select the pickup date or delivery, and then they pay right then and there. After they implemented that, they no longer had to keep that employee on double overtime. They no longer insist that their customers come pay in person, and they were really able to monitor not only their revenue stream, but who was ordering, so that later on they could then collect all of that data and put together campaigns for the next time around that they were doing special orders or offering a holiday related menu. So that's really one story that I like to focus on, because for us, it had the owner go from them overrunning their costs to really just sitting back and counting the cash roll in, because they knew that the website could handle all of that without any additional labor.
Or double overtime, for that matter.
Exactly. That adds up fast.
Yeah, reducing overhead. Who would think of that in a marketing strategy? I've got to think, too, quick follow-up, Eddie, that you must have seen a lot of success in your gift card offerings online as well, especially over the holidays.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Gift cards are a terrific feature as well, because they really drive customer loyalty and they really boost your online sales. For us, we offer two kinds of gift cards, mobile-friendly digital gift cards and physical gift cards as well, for those customers that do like to get that plastic card. They can order it from the restaurant. But you mentioned about the gift cards. I mean, I got plenty of gift cards for Christmas. In fact, I got a gift card as well from my mom. They come from all over. Gift cards are the #1 gift sold over the holidays for restaurants. And for our customers that do sell gift cards, they pretty frequently see over 100% average ROI. In fact, at last count, we were looking at about 124% ROI on gift cards. Reason being that when people come in, they spend more than the gift card value. I've gone in plenty of times to restaurants with a $100 gift card thinking, great, this is my $100 free pass. I'm gonna order everything I want to add up to these $100, and then anything that I order outside of that will come out of my pocket, but I essentially had $100 free. And it's common for up to 68% of people who do come in to redeem the gift card to spend more than the value of the card itself.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. Michele,
Me too.
I have kind of that same question for you, Michele Heller. We've got two Michelles on the two L's, we'll say. I've got kind of that same question for you. Let's look at a real kind of case study or a real example of what these work opportunity tax credits, and I'll take off the table the time spent that it would take you to track all of this by yourself if you were a restaurant owner. I'll take off all of the time spent reporting and tracking and chasing and all of that stuff. Give me some real quantifiable data. What kind of money can this mean for a restaurant?
Absolutely. I mean, a really good example is a quick serve restaurant group with 6 locations out of California. They came on board with us and started using WASI along with onboarding and applicant tracking and ACA. They started in March of 2019. So this is just, a short period of time ago. And the credits that they've earned from starting in March until the last report was January's report, we were able to find them $18,207 in credits. So that is actual tax credit that they can file against their, liability. They also have outstanding right now, pending with the state, about $5,300 in tax credit. So $18,000 for 6 locations, probably, I would say 20 employees a location or less. That's a lot of tax credit. And before they came with us, they were doing everything on paper. So, like you said, Dave, the time spent with onboarding, all of that piece, that's a whole other ROI.
That's awesome.
That is a really, really powerful story. And Michele, we have a couple follow-up questions. So to be clear, Efficient Hire offers different levels of service, including applicant tracking, onboarding, ACA, things that depending on your size could be very, very important. The question that we have from the audience is the WOTC work included with any of those, or is that an additional service?
So WASI is separate. You can enable, through RSI, you can enable, let's say you need onboarding and I-9 compliance. If you want to add WASI, you can absolutely add WASI to that.
Perfect. Got one more for you. How long do employees have to be employed for the employer to reap the benefit of the credit?
Sure. So the tax credit is meant to not only hire but retain. So the IRS has some rules around that. They have to work a minimum of 120 hours for any amount of tax credit to start accumulating. And that's where the tracking becomes really, really tricky if an employer is trying to do it themselves, because it's incremental based on the hours that they're working and the wages that they're paid for the tax credit that you earn. So it's a minimum of 120, and it maxes, the tax credit will max out. Let's say it's a veteran, so he has to work 120, he or she has to work 120 hours, and they max out at that $9,600 credit at $400.
That was a good question. Thanks, audience, for that. I'm going to switch gears back to Eddie quickly because we have another audience question for you. BentoBox, are your websites SEO based? And maybe let's start off with that, Eddie, in defining SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and search engine optimization is a way for your website to be searchable through search engines like Google, for example. All of the BentoBox websites do come with an SEO framework in place. Anytime that you make additions to your website, such as adding new pages, turning on events, updating what your latest menus are, you have the ability all in one place in the BentoBox backend to write your page titles, meaning what each page is called when somebody finds you on Google. You can write meta descriptions on there as well. And additionally, we have a whole section in our BentoBox Help Center to have customers look that up and really start crafting what their strategy is going to be in terms of the kinds of keywords that they're going to post that they want to rank for. And for us, SEO stays top of mind at all times.
Awesome. Another question that popped up on the chat here too, mobile websites, because you're right, 90% of people, if they're doing any restaurant research, they're on their phone on their way to some part of town and they're looking for what's around. How does that work with the BentoBox framework?
Yeah, because the majority of our customers are mobile and we continue to see year over year increase in terms of the average mobile compared to desktop, all of our websites are completely responsive. That means that the website can adapt and be flexible to any size device that you're using it on. So even if you're not necessarily on your phone, but you're on a tablet, you're on an iPad, you're using a device that's of a different size than even your laptop, the website can respond to all of that. So that is also built in right along with the SEO framework.
We have another question for you. This one should be pretty quick. What about keywords, Eddie? Do you search for keywords?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned very quickly earlier that we do have a help center on keywords. And it is very important when you do keywords that you look at what's trending in your area. We have various tools available for customers to look up different kinds of keywords. And we do recommend as well, that just like with the site content, that you do come to SEO with the idea that it's a living, evolving entity. If you are starting new programs, let's say that you've never had a happy hour before, and you are going to start offering happy hour at the start of spring, then you want to make a page for happy hour, and then look up what keywords are ranking in your area, what keywords are ranking for your type of restaurant, and then insert those into the page itself. So there are many tools that we do offer for you to be able to start narrowing down which keywords you want to rank for.
Awesome. Eddie, we had a question about the resource center that you mentioned for the resource for maximizing SEO. We will provide some information after today's call, and that kind of reminds me, I forgot at the very beginning of our panel today to let you know that if you do have any questions, the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom meeting is available, and that's kind of where we're answering these questions from and being able to provide some responses. So if any of the panelist attendees would like to ask any questions, those are available in that Q&A section down below as well. Michele, I know we spent a lot of time talking about the work opportunity tax credit, but let's at least dive into a few other ways that Efficient Hire can be able to help streamline the HR solution. Is a kind of a huge entity, as that's such a big thing right now. We touched base briefly on the applicant tracking and how that can embed into a BentoBox website to kind of close the loop on these two services on our panel today. What kind of applicant tracking system do you offer, and how does that work from a client's perspective?
Absolutely. So applicant tracking and recruiting is, it's a tough market out there to find quality employees. It's a tough market to just find employees and get them to show up to an interview. So with our applicant tracking solution, much like BentoBox, our system is can be used on any device, mobile. I mean, most people are going to look and apply for jobs on their phones. Or a tablet, and we have that mobile capability as well. We have the ability for you to keep your company branding, which is very important. I mean, your brand is important to you, and your career page will match your BentoBox site, and your branding will stay very consistent throughout the whole process, from applicant tracking all the way through to onboarding.
One of the questions that we didn't get on this panel, but I get asked a lot about you guys, is does that limit the ability for an applicant to just walk into a physical restaurant and apply for a position?
No, absolutely not. It's really easy. We've made, flyers or postcards. There's links to the job. They can easily, a manager can easily refer them out to a career page, and it takes less than 3 minutes to apply, so it's very, very easy. We make it super streamlined so they can get that applicant flow.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I know that was definitely a thing for me working in the restaurants. Digital is great, especially when you have the compliance back on the storage. But, not everybody's living in a digital age, especially, people are still analog, like to fill out an application, and to be able to support on both sides is important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Eddie, you and I have chatted about this a little bit before, and it actually falls in line with a panel topic that we did an entire panel on, which is third party. I'm talking about the delivery services. And, you know, the last year was kind of challenging. Some new challenges came up in terms of marketplace facilitator and the collection and handling of sales tax, different in every state and still evolving. How, and you know, and on that panel, I should mention too, we kind of talked about challenges that restaurants feel handcuffed by the fees and having to use them to stay competitive in a market. How can a well-marketed, well-designed website help combat some of those challenges with third party?
You know, when it comes to third parties, we have continued to see a rise in the we have plenty of customers who do have third-party services for their catering and for their online ordering, whether that be delivery or pickup. And that is something that you can put right on your site. So if you do sign up for those, it's very flexible on your site to be able to drop those links or to embed. But one thing that we like to really focus on with our customers when it comes to these types of services is that they understand that you can use BentoBox and you can use your own site instead of having to use the third parties. We have a catering add-on where you can absolutely place orders for the future, for your office, for a party, pay for it all, get your notification there. If you want to order something because you're staying in and you want to pick up from the down the street that you like, we have that available as well. And when it comes to the difference between us and the third parties, while we do have customers who do sign up for these, in the very same breath, they'll say, but the fees are so high. I have to pay so much of my revenue anytime an order comes in that I wonder how much it is actually worth it. When you come and sign up for that with BentoBox, one, you own all of your revenue. That any time someone makes a purchase on your site through e-commerce with BentoBox, we do not keep any kind of cut. We don't take any commission. We don't charge you any kind of fee for making that sale. We want you to control that revenue. So that's the big difference right away between us and the third party. I know that there's some third parties that charge up to 30% fees on every single transaction. You won't see that with us. And the other advantage to really putting all of your offerings on your one branded site is that you get to own your data as well. It's really important to think about the current purchase as an opportunity for a future purchase and for retention. If, let's say, you were to sign up with a third party and they tell you, sure, we'll give you all of the information for what you have to send to the person, but we're not going to give you their contact info. We're not going to give you their email. We're not going to tell you what company they're with. You just got to show up and drop it off. You're losing out. That's where you're really leaving on the table your future marketing efforts. With us, all of that data gets collected in the back end of BentoBox. You can export that into a file for Excel. When it comes to planning, you can use all of that to maybe look at who has ordered from you the most, and maybe you can create a loyalty promo for them and say, hey, thank you so much for being one of our top customers. We'd love to give you this opportunity to reorder and have this courtesy come with you. So when it comes to third parties, really, really think about where your revenue is going and where your data is going. With BentoBox, you own that revenue and you own that data.
Perfect. Michele, it sounds to me, Michele with two L's, it sounds to me like a lot of our maybe clients and prospects have sent their HR administrators onto this digital panel today because of the types of questions that we're getting. This particular question I think is really kind of intricate, and I want to kick this one back over to you. In terms, going back to that work opportunity tax credit, how does the screening compliance get verified or validated through your onboarding system? So they wanted the question specifically is around how do they guarantee that everybody's getting the same types of questions?
Well, the good news is they can't skip it. So There's 100% screening compliance, which means every single employee will go through the screening. And what we've done is we've taken it and I don't know if you've ever seen the 8850 and 9061 forms, but they're incredibly complicated with a whole bunch of questions. So we've simplified it to be plain English or Spanish, breaking it down one sentence at a time. We've gone as far to put the actual logos of the specific programs so they can easily recognize, oh yeah, I've seen that on a letter I've gotten from TANF. And then they'll be able to answer that question, and they're more likely to answer, give you a yes question or yes answer if they are on it, if they can understand it. So if somebody says, yes, I'm on SNAP, or someone in my household, then we'll follow it up on the next screen with any additional questions that need to be asked to maximize that tax credit. So it's very simple screening, and if the verification process, for instance, if it's somebody on SNAP, they let us know in the interview, I'm going to bring a letter from the program, and it's as simple as that. And then when we file, it gets verified, obviously, with the state workforce agency.
Cool. I'm just making one last run through on any of the questions. Michele, did you have a follow-up? Michele with one?
No, I didn't. We're coming up pretty close to the hour, and as Dave scrubs through to see if we have any final questions coming in for anybody attending, Dave, you got anything else before we go to some words of wisdom and recap?
Oh, always a last-minute question comes in. Okay, here we go. How would my restaurant set branding guidelines to be used during the hiring and onboarding process? What does that process look like to ensure that the brand is represented properly? Probably going back a little bit more to, actually to both panelists. We can kind of talk a little bit about branding for both of our folks on the call today. Michele, let's start with you, and then Eddie will come to you with the same type of question. How can a restaurant operator control that branding and set those guidelines as much as they possibly can?
So we make it super, super simple for you. Your career page, you can make it as simple or totally mirror the top menu look and feel of a BentoBox website, so that when somebody clicks on careers in their website, they're not going anywhere. It doesn't look like they're going anywhere. It looks like they're staying right there. So that right there is, what you mentioned, Eddie, earlier was that is the first impression for guests at a restaurant is their website. It is also the first impression for somebody that wants to come and work for you. So creating that one brand, this is your brand you're putting out there in the world, and being consistent all the way through to payroll is very important to create a streamlined candidate experience and make them feel like they want to work for you. And, we get a logo from you, we use your colors, we can totally go into a whole lot more of that, but maintaining your brand all the way through is very key to us for that candidate experience.
Awesome. Eddie, I'm going to skew that just a little bit, that question, because obviously the website is pretty much the core of the brand, and being able to tie that in. What kind of branding advice or what kinds of things would you review in that process with the branding when someone's working with BentoBox and redesigning their website and their digital platform?
The very first things that we ask our customers to take a look at is their consistency and their quality. If you're going to put together something like a brand guideline book, you really need to put time into understanding how that guideline is going to speak on the behalf of the restaurant when it comes to the online presence. Therefore, you want to make sure that you have consistent colors, that you have consistent use of certain features of your logo. And also, to go even further than that, is that when you do put these assets together and you do start putting your assets for your website, that they are of the correct file format, that they are of the right resolution, that they have what they need on the technical level to really be able to shine. it's no use putting together your brand guidelines and making all these assets if they're not going to be compatible with the website itself. But we make that as easy as possible for our customers. When you sign up with BentoBox, 3 easy steps. The first thing you do is activate your subscription. And then the next thing you do is upload all of your files. Upload your logo, upload your pictures. If you do have a brand guideline book, you can upload that as well. If you have specific fonts that you own, you can upload all of that in one easy step before you go to step 3, which is booking a kickoff call with an onboarding manager to get the ball rolling on building the site itself.
Cool.
And that reminds me, Michele, you guys do employee handbook work as well, correct?
We don't write employee handbooks.
No, but to be able to store and have employee handbooks or policies signed.
Misunderstood, I apologize. Yes,
no
so our goal is like our name, efficient. Efficient Hire. We want to make you efficient, and of course, if you're doing things on paper, we want to take all of that and put it into a way for an employee to go through a stack of paperwork, but digitally in 10 minutes on board. And that includes all of the state tax forms, wherever you are, whatever state you're in, the W-4, obviously the new one, the I-9, which is a very important piece of hiring information, and also any specific company policies. So like handbooks, if you have drivers that work for you, we handle all the driver information and driver policies. If you have a specific position that has some acknowledgments like OSHA or food handling safety, anything like that that you need to have an employee sign off on, they go through it in onboarding. They read all their documents. We can even put videos in there as well. We have customers that use it for, specific orientation videos, which that again saves a hiring manager a couple hours a week just by having all of that right there, ready for them to go through. They approve it, and they're off to work.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. And Michele, I do have an audience question for you from longtime friend Tom. Hey, Tom. I like that you're muted, but I will ask a question on your behalf. Michele, the question is for existing restaurants who begin to come on with Efficient Hire to use your service, what does that mean for their existing employees in that transition?
So we could do one of two things. Some people like to have all their employees in there. So there's a couple advantages for that. One advantage would be, let's say you update a handbook and you want to get that policy out to have employees sign again, or maybe you do it annually, or you have a new policy. So having all of your employees in the system makes it super easy to initiate that, what's called a policy reconfirmation, and get those existing employees to sign off on anything they need to. And that's a really simple process on our end to import those. It's very easy to do.
Awesome. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up here. I have a couple points of clarification. First and foremost, Michele Heller and Eddie Velasquez, thank you so much for joining us on our digital panel today and being able to talk through some other ways that RSI is creatively trying to help our clients and prospects be able to stay in business as long as possible, driving those top-line revenues, cutting time, saving costs, however we can work with those restaurant operators to continue to make improvements. In just a moment, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle O'Neill to kind of do a recap of the call, but on a couple points of clarification, anybody that signed up for the digital panel will receive a link with the recording of this today as well, along with all information that we'll share. We'll also put in the follow-up email some of the documents that Eddie was talking about via their SEO optimization and maximizing that. We'll put in some of those other resources in that follow-up email. Thank you to all of the attendees for joining us as well today. Michelle, let's go ahead and do a recap.
Let's do it. We have two little last-minute straggly questions. One I think I can answer. One I might need some help from Michele with 2 L's. Yes, Efficient Hire does handle ACA compliance, and it's a key component of why they're backing and powering our payroll service as well. So that's a quick answer. And then the second is just a follow-up on the existing employees. If they have existing employees who are eligible for a WOTC, is that factor in, or is this strictly a new hire deal, Michele?
Oh, good question. It is actually only for new hires. That cannot be, so rehires are not eligible. Only new hires. And another portion of why it's so important to do this electronically is you only have 21 days from that date of hire to file the certificate with the state workforce agency. So because of the complications of the forms, we make it so easy that we'll get those off oftentimes in less than a week. Those are processed.
That's awesome.
Nice succinct answer
Perfect.
on that. All right, as a reminder, before I recap, I'll say it one more time. If you are attending this panel or you are watching it later via recording, you will get sent all of these links and all of this information. Between Efficient Hire, BentoBox, and of course Restaurant Solutions, there's a lot of restaurants out there, and the more we can work together, our philosophies are the same. We're delighted to be partnered with both BentoBox and Efficient Hire, so you'll be able to reach us. In case you guys haven't noticed, the theme of our panels continues to be top line and bottom line. So what can you do to improve your bottom line? We got a million ideas on that. Top line, we're getting more innovative, and we're going to follow this panel up, probably with the sequel because Eddie and Michele Heller were so great, but also with a part 2 on purchasing. Purchasing has been a big direction, and it kind of mirrors what Eddie was talking about. We're mirroring that and replacing GBOs without fees. So good luck, GBOs. Good luck, third-party delivery moving forward. Again, Eddie and Michele did an excellent job today. Please reach out if you would like some more information. Dave and I are also available to answer any questions that you might have on the integration side and how systems would work together. Just to recap the things we talked about today, think about driving revenue directly through a restaurant website with 3 focus areas: design, consistently branded website design for a streamlined online presence. Remember, your website is your first impression. It's your first impression rose, if you will, to your potential guest, if you're a fan of The Bachelor. E-commerce, gift cards, catering, merchandise, etc., being innovative and more direct. And tools, analytics for maintaining ongoing presence of website and understanding your web data. So this is not a one-and-done thing, BentoBox. Fabulous offering. On the other side, we're talking about saving money by digging into your arsenal and utilizing all available tools which benefit both the employee and the employer. Primarily, we discussed WOTC tax credit, streamlined applicant onboarding and tracking, and of course, ACA compliance. I'd like to thank everybody again one more time. My co-host, as always, Dave, Michele Heller, Eddie, excellent job. We'll send you guys all of the links. We thank you for your time and attendance, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.